One of the things that I think a lot of people that are pro-Trump and pro-Republican and pro kind of what's going on right now are upset about is that it doesn't seem like a lot of stuff is getting done. It seems like Trump came into office with all these promises and not a lot has happened. The big things being like the Epstein stuff, putting Democrats in prison, all this sort of stuff that we are pretty sure, and that a lot of the stuff that the Tulsi Gabbard is releasing shows that there's been this contempt of the system, this contempt of the way the government is supposed to run, this contempt of law and order. And we were kind of promised that that would be over, that this new administration would go in and basically clean house. Anyone that needed to be arrested was going to be arrested. And they weren't going to be arrested because they had a D next to their name. They were going to be arrested because they had committed crimes. Now, I understand that it takes quite a while to find this stuff. That takes quite a while to actually go in and do the nitty gritty, especially when you consider the fact that nothing had been done in the prior administration. So, we're 8 months in, and it kind of makes sense to me that we're only just now finding stuff out. But a lot of this stuff is kind of moving at a snail's pace, but stuff keeps happening. Like every day we hear new news. And one of the things that kind of flies under the radar is some of these firings. Two examples are two FTC commissioners, Rebecca Slaughter and Alvaro Bedoya, were fired by President Trump in March of this year. Now, the FTC is supposed to be a somewhat independent agency that the president is not really supposed to oversee that much. The president appoints, the Senate confirms, but other than that, historically, there has not been great oversight from the executive. Now, does this sound like another agency that we're aware of? Maybe the Federal Reserve? So this, I think, is supposed to be a test case for firing members of the Federal Reserve. So what happened here was President Trump fired two FTC commissioners. They sued, said, you can't fire us, or if you can fire us, you did not provide the congressional reasons for our firing. My understanding is he basically sent an email saying you're fired. Like there wasn't an actual reason given. Now, when Congress set up the FTC, they created reasons for firing commissioners, like inefficiency, neglect of duty, and malfeasance in office. He didn't list any of those for the reasons for their firing. So they sued. July, a U.S. district judge ruled that the firing was illegal and stated that Slaughter could only be removed for cause. But Bedoya later resigned from the FTC. So we've got one FTC commissioner still dealing with this case. So obviously Trump appeals, and a federal appeals court said, no, your firing of her was illegal. So 2 days ago, Chief Justice John Roberts of the Supreme Court issued a stay on the Federal Court of Appeals ruling, basically saying that upon consideration of the application of counsel for the appellates, Donald Trump, the DOJ, it is ordered that the July 17th, 2025 order of the United States District Court for the District of Columbia, case number is hereby stayed pending further order of the undersigned or of the court. And the court here is capitalized, which means he's talking about the Supreme Court. So what does this mean? Well, each justice is in charge of one of the circuits. And basically any appeal that comes out of that, they are allowed to issue an administrative stay on the Court of Appeals decision. That's what John Roberts has done here. As the Chief Justice, he is the one assigned to the federal district or the District of Columbia. So he's issued this appeal basically saying, in my opinion, okay, let me rephrase this. This is not what he's saying, but historically, this is what an administrative stay like this has meant. That, in his opinion, Donald Trump is likely to prevail in the Supreme Court. That's not always the reason that they may issue an opinion. One reason that they may issue an administrative stay is if they believe that not issuing that stay will cause further harm. So one stay that Justice Roberts also issued was a stay on an order that required Trump to go ahead and spend $4 billion in federal aid to international NGOs, basically. Now, that administrative stay was done because if the stay isn't placed, he then gets required to spend that $4 billion by the end of the month. Without that stay, there would be irreparable harm to the case because the Supreme Court's not going to hear that case inside the next month. So the stay allows for kind of a pause of everything while they figure everything out and hear the case, because that's going to take a process. In this case, I think it's closer to that Justice believes that Trump will win in the end. And so there's no reason to continue paying Slaughter. There's no reason to keep her on the payroll, all this stuff, because in the end, she's going to be fired. But like I said at the beginning of this, I think this is a test case for dealing with what's going to happen with Lisa Cook and any other Federal Reserve Chair people that Trump decides to fire. This is something that people are going to want to pay attention to, because if the Supreme Court rules in, let's say, 6-3 on this, then there is now Supreme Court precedent for requirements to fire independent agency leadership, basically. And this is the same stuff that I said months ago when I said that Gavin Newsom was an idiot for suing Donald Trump, because all they're doing now is laying precedent so that Donald Trump can go and do more and more and more stuff. But my question would be, do they know this? Are they doing this so that they can then, if they ever get back in power, they can do this? Or are they doing this so that they can campaign on, look at all this stuff Donald Trump's doing. Look at all these evil things. The courts need to be fixed. That's what I think they might be doing. I think they're trying to set up a long campaign. And honestly, it terrifies me. Guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below what you think about this, and I'll see y'all next time.